I remember when you're talking and you're crying and then you remember all these things that this woman has done for us.
Yeah.
And I guess it is kind of, it's making me emotional because whenever people say to me like, oh, you guys are doing all this stuff, and I can't ever explain it to them that I could never not do this for her because I remember the times. My brother, I remember you, all of us, coming to Canada. So I remember a few instances. I remember going to tournaments, going to stuff, and my mother would be there.
Always.
She has no idea what's going on. She's making all this noise. I remember one instance we were playing in a game, and the ball went off of me. There's mom right on the sidelines. I'm in front of me. It's like, yes, Devon! And I'm like, no, mom, that wasn't good. And she's like, it doesn't matter. Right. And I remember that, but all my friends were there. They were just pissing themselves laughing because like, your mom is making all this noise, but she has no idea. But she just wants you to know she's there. And I'm like, yeah. Right. But at the time, you take those things for granted because how did she even get there, my brother? She didn't drive, right? But she was there. I remember when I 2 times when I graduated from I guess it's junior public, but I had a really good year. I'm gonna say I had a good year, and everybody's like, oh, you're gonna be valedictorian. You're gonna be valedictorian. I don't know if I ever told you the story. And I'm sitting there, and I'm starting to believe the hype. You know what I mean? Oh, you know what? Yeah. I am big man on campus. Everybody knows who I am. Yeah. I should. Yeah. You know what? I'm going to be valedictorian. Yeah. And I remember, so they always do the little assembly before to go through it, and they announce valedictorian, and it's not me. And I remember sitting in this auditorium with all my classmates and my teachers and everything, and in my head I remember, and our parents used to always tell you this, I can't cry. I mean, I am so devastated, but I don't want to cry. Because, that was the thing, right? You have to be strong. Don't let them see you
sweat. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And I remember Dia, and I also have to give my sister credit. I was still my sister has always been there in that type of way. Hell, my whole entire family. Jesus, I can't even say my sister. I single out different people at different times, but that was a moment for me. But I remember I was devastated because I had to come back that evening for graduation. But all of this happening, when something happens to you in front of everybody? Yeah. And in my head, how am I going to come back here? Like, just like, oh my God, don't cry. I remember, I don't know what happened, but DN must have ran ahead. Right? And I'm walking, I remember when we lived at 225 Markham Road, Cedar Drive. And I'm walking down the street, and I mean, I am bawling. I can't contain my emotions anymore. It's just like, I'm so embarrassed and humiliated. And that was one of the first times where I learned humility, my brother. Because I believe my own hype. And that was one of those moments where you have to have humility, right? Even if that's who you are, you don't have to walk lightly, as they would say. People know anyway, you don't have to throw it in their face. You know what I'm saying? Walk with humility. But anyway, that was one of the first lessons for me anyway. But I'm walking, and I'm crying, and I'm like devastated. I can't, and I'm crying, I'm walking, and I'm blubbering. I remember I looked up at my brother, and there comes my mother walking down the street. And she comes, back in the day, the old school thing. And I remember she took her skirt and took it from the inside, wiped my face. And then she did this thing where she comes up to me and she just held me against her side, like when we were babies and she would carry the both of us. And my mother just walked me home and just walked home with me. But she came and she got me. And I came home, I was crying, and she wiped my face. The mother thing where your mother wipes your face with the hem of her skirt? I don't know how many people have that memory, but I remember my mother would always, because she did have those long skirts.
Yes.
But she took it and she wiped my face with the hem of her skirt. She could have taken something else, but this is my son, and he's devastated right now. But I have to put him back together. But without any words, my brother. Wiped off my face, hugged me dexterous side, and we walked home. Never said nothing to me. Got home, I'm still crying, sit me down, gives me my lunch, goes inside, and she walked me through it. Had to get bath. My mother bathed me. And kept going until I started to understand, okay, Devon, you're upset, you're hurt, but you have to keep moving forward. But she did it with me. You know what I mean? And now as an adult, I knew what she was doing. She didn't need to talk to me. I'm just gonna make sure you keep moving forward. Don't let them break you. But I remember I went back and I was okay. But that was one of the moments my mother did that for me. And you remember all these things. I remember the same thing in high school. You know, it was always a big thing. And I remember my mother was always talking, don't make them pass you up. Make sure you're, that was the thing. And I was like, who are these people you're talking about? You know, all this.
Then pass you.
Who are these people you're talking about? But it was always just make sure. That was her way of saying, make sure you do the best you can. But I remember I graduated from high school. And I was on the honor roll. And they announce all the people, announce all the people. And there it is, but they don't announce my name. And you know me back in those days, my brother. My pride, like, F you. Like, and I remember all my classmates were like, what is this? You're on the honor roll. How come they did? You should go say something. I'm like, nah, I'm not saying nothing to them because they know. They insulted me. They know, right? I went home and I told mom and she's like, no. And I, but I'm like, she's like, you should go down and say something. I'm like, no, I'm not going to say nothing to them. Like, F them, right? Too prideful. But again, I remember I came back to school and they called my name. I had to go down to the office and there's my mother in the office. And she's like, telling the principal, you need to apologize to my son because for all the years that he's been going to this school, if you're making an announcement and his name is not on that list and you didn't check, like say you don't know that this is, you know what I mean? And she was clear with him, like, you don't get to treat my son like that. And you don't get to take something away from him. And she even told me, say, he ain't not gonna say nothing to you. Right? Because yes, he's not gonna come, but you're not gonna do that to my son. Right? And she made him apologize to me. You know what I mean? I never forget that actually. So those are the moments when you were doing that, and I remember, oh my goodness, all the times when, so now it's like, when people say, and it's like...
And it's a big deal to them. Like, oh wow, you guys are so good. And you're like, well, and you're going, well, what do you mean?
And it's not even about repay or whatever. It's almost like they would say pay it forward.
No.
I have to pay it forward because, even when we go, you get into this whole thing with your kids, you do that for your children, I'm like, this is nothing. My parents gave up everything so that we could be here. What I'm doing for my kids is nothing. That's just a continuation of that journey. Right? Do you imagine, my brother? Our parents literally gave up everything so we could be here. So that we could be here. Videotaping each other on a computer that is more powerful than the computer that we were born. Right? You know what I mean? Right? You know that, right? We know that. We talk about but all those simple little things. I'm just putting that. I try to put in perspective. That simple little thing. When we were children growing up, I would have never imagined that.
This is Star Trek,
right?
Levels this.
But what we didn't know, our parents did. Our parents did. Where can we go so that they can have more opportunity to have a bigger, grander, more expansive life than I had? You can't stay here. You know what I mean? So, a long story short, I guess at the end of the day,